Who are the best Pokemon to use in Heart Gold and Soul Silver? This video will tell you which Pokemon have the best matchup into the game, considering how easy they are to catch and evolve, how they do against important battles like gym leaders, and what moves they'll learn by level up. So in my opinion, the best starter is Totodile. He fully evolves into Feraligatr at level 30, which is pretty early for a starter. He gets some good moves by level up, including Bite, Ice Fang, and Crunch, and you get the Surf HM quite early too, just before the 4th gym. In the late game, you'll get Waterfall, and Feraligatr is one of the few Pokemon who can learn the Dragon Claw TM, which gives you a super effective move into Claire's team. Claire's Kingdra is only weak to Dragon, so most other Pokemon won't have a super effective move for it. Speaking of gym leaders, Feraligatr also has either a neutral or good matchup into every single Gym Leader, Elite Four member, and Team Rocket admin. He's only weak to Grass and Electric, which are pretty uncommon types to find in boss battles, so he won't struggle in any major fights. For the few Electric and Grass types you do fight in the game, you can learn Dig and Ice Fang to deal with them. Ice-type moves are pretty rare in Heart Gold and Soul Silver since Blizzard is inaccurate and getting the Ice Beam TM comes with a big time investment, but since Feraligatr gets Ice Fang by level up, you'll naturally have a really good matchup into the champion, Lance, who has 3 Dragonites who are 4 times weak to Ice. So Feraligatr is great, but what about the other 2 starters? Grass types have a horrible matchup into Johto, which means Chikorita doesn't stand a chance. And Typhlosion is a great Pokemon, but he's a bit one-dimensional. He's fast and can do big damage with fire moves, but that's about it. For coverage, you can give him Dig, and once he's fully evolved, Shadow Claw too, but these both use his lower physical attack. This means Quilava and Typhlosion are great into a couple of battles where they can hit super effective fire moves, like Bugsy, Jasmine, and Koga, but they're pretty useless into other trainers like Lance and Claire who resist fire. You can definitely have a good run using Typhlosion, but I'm going to give him an 8, and I'm going to give Feraligatr a 10. Pretty much the only part of the game Feraligatr might struggle in is Sprout Tower, but Totodile has naturally high defense, and as long as you're a couple of levels higher than the Bellsprouts, you shouldn't have any major issues. Another incredible Pokemon who you can get pretty early is Heracross. There's a few specific trees in Azalea Town that you can use Headbutt on to find Heracross after beating the 2nd gym. Heracross has absolutely incredible stats for a Pokemon who you can find this early, and his stats are only the beginning. He gets Brick Break at level 19, which will be consistently good throughout the entire game, and it's one of the few ways to get a good fighting type move before Whitney's normal gym. Heracross also gets Close Combat at level 37, which is incredible for sweeping. Fighting moves give you a great matchup into Whitney, Jasmine, Price, and Karen, but Heracross can also learn some great moves like Aerial Ace, Shadow Claw, Earthquake, and Dig, which can be useful for fighting Morty, Chuck, Will, Koga, and Bruno. So yeah, Heracross can easily take down more than half of the game on his own. Also, if you get one with the ability Guts, you can get a free attack boost just by poisoning or burning him, which can be a great way to do some extra damage in a difficult fight. I think the only downside of using Heracross is that you catch him between level 2 and 5 when the rest of your team will be near level 20, so he takes a bit of training before he becomes useful. You could also say it's a downside how he doesn't get Mega Horn until level 55, but he gets some amazing moves in the meantime to make up for it, and Bug isn't really the most useful type of attack to have. For these games, I would give Heracross a 9.5 out of 10. A Pokemon available at the same time as Heracross is Alakazam. You can catch Abra just before the 3rd gym, and you'll only have to switch train for 6 levels to get him to evolve into Kadabra. Kadabra has great stats, but you can also evolve him straight away into Alakazam, who, like Heracross, is insanely strong for this early in the game. Stab Confusions from base 135 special attack will kill most enemy Pokemon, and that gets upgraded to Psybeam at level 24. Alakazam might not seem like he'll be useful into Whitney's infamously difficult Miltank, but in the department store you can buy TMs for Reflect and Focus Blast, which should make Whitney a breeze. You'll quite easily be able to sweep through Morty's Ghost Gym too, since Ghastly, Gengar and Haunter are all part Poison type, and you're then rewarded with the Shadow Ball TM to upgrade Alakazam even more. Shadow Ball and either Psybeam or Psychic can tear through almost every type of Pokemon. The only ones you'll struggle to hit are Dark and Steel types. There are less than 5 trainers who use Dark type Pokemon in Johto, and Steel types aren't too common either. Plus, if you're lucky, Focus Blast can deal with them anyway. Psychic moves give you a really good matchup into Morty, Chuck, Koga and Bruno, and with Shadow Ball you can also be useful for Will. Alakazam does great into all the poison types Team Rocket use, and even if it's not super effective, Psychics will do big damage in most battles. The only fights Alakazam will struggle to be useful in are against Karen and Jasmine, but a few lucky Focus Blasts can help out there. I'm gonna give Alakazam a 9 since Abra can be difficult to catch and he needs to be switch trained. Also, if you want to teach someone else the Shadow Ball TM, Alakazam pretty much just becomes a Psychic spammer. Next, I want to talk about Arcanine, who's a Heart Gold exclusive, so he's completely unavailable in Soul Silver. His counterpart is Ninetales, who sadly is nowhere near as good. Arcanine is one of those classic Pokemon who everyone knows is great. His stats are incredible, ranging from 80 to 110. He can have Intimidate, which is one of the best abilities in the game, and he can learn some really good attacks like Flamethrower, Dragon Pulse, and Extreme Speed. The issue with Arcanine is that he's a Stone evolution, which means he doesn't learn many moves after evolving. I personally would evolve Growlithe at level 34 so you can get Flamethrower, but that means you'll miss out on moves like Flare Blitz and Crunch. Thankfully, Arcanine gets Extreme Speed at level 39, and he can learn moves like Strength and Dig to fill in the gaps in the mid-game. For the endgame, Arcanine is one of the few Pokemon available who can learn the Dragon Pulse TM, giving you a super effective move into Lance's Dragonites. Growlithe and Arcanine will be useful into Jasmine, Koga and Lance, as well as being generally useful into most fights, thanks to Arcanine's naturally high stats and Intimidate. The only major battles where you'll struggle will be against Claire, since that's before you get Dragon Pulse, and Chuck, since he has Rock Slide and Surf. Growlithe can also be a bit annoying to evolve, since you need to do Pokéathlon minigames to buy a Firestone, which is only available on Tuesdays. But Arcanine is still amazing, so overall I'll give him an 8.5. After beating the 4th gym, you can head back into Union Cave on a Friday to find a Lapras, who's insanely bulky with 130 health, 80 defense, and 95 special defense. I mentioned earlier that good Ice-type attacks are rare, and thankfully Lapras learns Ice Beam at level 32. Lapras is actually the only fully evolved Pokemon who learns Ice Beam before level 47 in these games. You can also immediately teach Lapras Surf when you catch it, which means you'll have your 2 best moves pretty early on. On paper, Water and Ice-type moves only give you a good matchup into Claire and Lance, but since Lapras is so bulky, it can be useful into pretty much every major fight. It's a great Pokemon to switch to, either to take some hits while you heal your team, or to chip down your opponent's health. A lot of gym leaders and Elite Four members might not specialise in types weak to water and ice, but there'll be a lot of Pokemon like Jasmine's Steelix, Price's Piloswine, and Karen's Houndoom who Lapras matches up well into. Also, thanks to its natural bulk, Lapras can win a lot of matchups where it doesn't have the type advantage. For example, Lapras may not have super effective moves into Koga's Poison and Bug types, but you'll be able to take them down while staying relatively healthy. Overall, I'm gonna give Lapras a 9. You'll destroy the mid-game and you'll do great into Lance, but with just 85 in both physical and special attack, you might miss out on a couple of kills if you're not doing super effective damage. Plus, you only have 60 speed, so you'll be outspared in most matchups. Another water type who does great in these games is Gyarados. You can technically fish up a Magikarp anytime you want after the 1st gym, but I'd recommend waiting until after the 4th gym, when you can go and catch a shiny level 30 Gyarados when the rest of your team is in the early to mid 20s. I've already mentioned that water types are amazing in Johto, and Gyarados is no exception. It's really similar to Feraligatr since it's a physical attacker with Bite and Ice Fang for coverage, but I think Gyarados is marginally better than Feraligatr for a couple of reasons. Gyarados learns Aqua Tail at level 35, which means it gets a physical water move well before you get the Waterfall HM on the way to the 8th gym. Feraligatr, however, will be stuck using Surf with its middling special attack stat for the entire mid-game. Gyarados can also single-handedly sweep the Elite Four thanks to Dragon Dance, alongside Waterfall, Ice Fang, and either Earthquake or Return. I gave Feraligatr a 10, and I do think Gyarados is better, but I'm also going to give him a 10, just because Feraligatr being available from the very beginning of the game makes him more attractive to me personally. The last Pokemon I'm going to be ranking is Mamoswine. As I just mentioned, finding a Pokemon earlier in the game is always a plus for me, and unfortunately you can only find Swinub after beating 7 of the 8 gyms. However, you can immediately fully evolve Swinub into Mamoswine, who's then useful in pretty much every fight from then onwards. Ice Fang and Ice Shard are great into Claire and Lance, plus you get Earthquake at level 40, which is good into a few of Koga, Bruno and Karen's Pokemon. That just leaves Will, who has 3 Pokemon weak to Ice. Mamoswine is another Pokemon like Lapras who's really useful even if it doesn't have a type advantage, thanks to its naturally high attack and bulk. If you need someone to come out and do a huge chunk of damage, Mamoswine's a great Pokemon to have. Plus, getting Earthquake by level up is really nice, since it means you can use your 1 Earthquake TM on another Pokemon. Mamoswine's incredibly strong and potentially could one-hit kill 4 of Lance's Pokemon, but the highest score I can give him is an 8. You get Swinub really late into the game, and he needs 2 Heart Scales to have his full potential, one to learn Ancient Power so he can evolve, and another to learn Ice Fang. Heart Scales are pretty rare in Johto and they're incredibly annoying to get, since you either need to use Rock Smash in Cianwood City for 20 minutes, or play Pokéathlon games. Finally, I want to give a special shout out to Geodude, who is not one of the best Pokemon to use in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, but is the best Pokemon to use for the first 3 gyms. Rock Throw destroys Falkner and Bugsy, and since their best moves are U-Turn, Quick Attack and Gust, they pretty much can't do any damage in return. Then you resist all of Whitney's Miltank's moves, and you can do some pretty big damage after a few 50% defense drops from Rock Smash. Geodude is so good into these gyms that you can go in pretty underleveled, switch off your brain, and still win the fight with your health in the green. Unfortunately, Graveler and Golem are borderline useless into the next 5 gyms and the Elite Four, since most of their Pokemon will have either a strong special attack or an attack of one of the 6 types you're weak to. But then Golem is actually surprisingly good into Lance's team, since he has a lot of physical attackers and his whole team is weak to rock. Just watch out for his Gyarados and his Dragonite with Blizzard. Geodude can be a great Pokemon to carry you through the early game, but you might want to swap him out for someone else after beating Whitney. So, looking at all of these Pokemon together, we can see that anyone who learns Ice-type moves by level up does really well in Johto. Which makes sense, since Lance and Claire are some of the most difficult fights in the game. Water types are also pretty good in these games, which isn't surprising since Water is one of the best types in the whole franchise, and there aren't many strong Electric or Grass types to face. Steel types are usually really good in most games, but in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, there just aren't very many. Scizor actually does amazing in Johto, especially in the Elite Four, but you can only catch Scyther in the bug catching contest, and getting a Metal Coat can be annoying too, since you either need to get it from the Pokéathlon Dome, or it's a 5% chance from Wild Magnemite. Speaking of Magnemite, Magneton can't actually evolve into Magnezone in these games, and Skarmory is a version exclusive who's found at the very end of the game with only a 5% encounter rate. If you think I missed a really good Pokemon, leave a comment to let me know, and consider liking and subscribing if you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and hopefully, I'll see you next time.